So, I think this is a video that needs to be made. And I need to give you guys a channel update anyway, so it'll be partly part of that. So, clickbaited, haha. But I also think this is a discussion that we just need to have in general, which is why Pokemon Pocket feels so fucking stale, and why a lot of people are very excited for Champions. Now, Champions, don't get me wrong, lackluster game. There's a lot of items missing, whatever. However, there is potential for it to be very good. I really hope for 6v6 singles, but it's just a bad time to be like a Pokemon fan with these games. Straight up, they're service games. Like, the model of service games in Pokemon, it does work. But here's the thing: we've had this happen before. Pokemon Unite came out. It was good for like a year, maybe up to 3 years, and then that shit was cooked. We had now Pokemon Pocket come out. We're at a year and a half, and an entire set has like completely almost killed the game, and they've publicly stated they don't want to put any competition officially in Worlds. They want to keep it to the physical card game only. But we have disqualifications for Pokemon Go. Crazy, you know. And then we have Pokemon Champions, which is supposed to replace VGC, but it's missing a bunch of features. The game's buggy. Megas don't mega, and ability changes when they're supposed to. And this first start is very stale, and the regulation has gotten old fast, and I really want it to be next month already because I'm tired of fighting the same team over and over again, and the game's only been out for 2 days. No, it's a great time to be a Poketopia fan, but free to play Pokemon fan in this day and age, it's not a good time. Not a good time to be a free to play fan. And hopefully, Winds and Waves will clarify that. It'll be a great time to be a paid Pokemon fan, but a free to play Pokemon fan, it's not a good time. I mean, you could even say a paid Pokemon fan right now is great to be because Pokemon Fire Red got re-released, and it's great. ZA is questionable, but if you enjoy ZA, you enjoy ZA. But I think it is a good idea to go over what's going on in Pocket, what went wrong. And I think the best way to do so is to go down memory lane here, right? And go down the sets. You know, we'll go through the sets. I have booster packs open, I'm not opening them yet. Genetic Apex is where it started. I think Genetic Apex had very set decks that worked. Mewtwo was strong, Pikachu was busted, Charizard, you just had to get lucky with Moltres, but if you did, you were going to win the game. That was just how it was. And it was fun. It was fun for what they released. Then we had what I would say is the meme set, which this is the set that I think, personally, started a trend that makes the game go downhill. And I'm not saying that these cards cannot be made. However, when you make cards that are based on coin flips, you're going to cause problems. Pure example, Misty started becoming a real problem in this set specifically because of Mega Gyarados. Mega Gyarados hits really hard, a lot harder than Blastoise from set 1, and it's a stage 2. It wasn't a stage 3. We didn't have Rare Candy yet. If we had Rare Candy and Misty set 1, there's no question Blastoise would have been the most broken thing on the planet because you just Misty and High Roll and win. But this set with Superior and Celebi set a precedent straight up. It was just... It made a coin flip meta. And it was bad. It was bad. And it stayed like that for a while. Even in Space Time SmackDown, where we got Cyrus, which is probably one of the best sets we got because of getting Cyrus was insane. This was an okay set. I think Space Time SmackDown was fine. It didn't fix the Celebi meta at all. It just gave us supporters that we needed, like Cyrus. Like, straight up, that's what SmackDown was with Cyrus. I would say this was the Cyrus set. Now, a set that I think the game competitively battle-wise, stopped becoming a meme collector simulator and started becoming a game where meta mattered. And that was Triumphant Light. Now, Triumphant Light added Arceus and a bunch of other cards that got supported by Lucario, got supported with Rampardos from Space-Time SmackDown, all of that. And it was good. It was a good set. This was an amazing set to be playing competitive. If you were playing Arceus, you're having a good time. If you're playing Charizard, you're having a good time. I think Mewtwo's were still running around, even though Arceus Crobat was fucking dominating, because it's Arceus. Arceus was busted. We all knew how busted Arceus was. It was a good time. I think even Pikachu still picked up some games. This was a great set. I really like Triumphant Light. I think this is where the game fully started to come into its own meta, and where we started all taking it a little seriously and like, hey, ranked would be great. You know, eventually we got it, but we'll get back to the mistakes of Magetic Apex once we get up to Secluded Springs. We'll get there. Trust me, we'll get there. Shining Reveille, surprise set, gave us some great meta cards. People bitched about shinies. It's whatever. I still think this is how shinies should be released and not the bullshit they started to pull in the later sets with the 6th card being a shiny. I think Shining Reveille and the latest set we just got is how shinies should be released. They should be released like this. This was fantastic. It was all new cards. There were shinies and new cards. There were some shinies of old cards. This was great. This was a good set. Charizard was fucking fantastic in this set. He's been overshadowed now, but it was great. Solgaleo coming in with a rare candy meta. Oh my gosh. It shook up the meta a lot. Incineroar, of course, Mr. VGC himself fucking came in and also destroyed people's lives. He destroyed my life. It was sad. I wish Alolan Raichu had more than 140 HP. There's a very bad problem with electric-type Pokemon, and it's just they are 130. And wouldn't you know it, the most broken cards in the game hit for 130. Electric just has a bad time. You know, it's just what it is. Now, I don't think the rare candy was a bad item to add. I think it was a needed item to speed up the game. The game was slow. However, I think the speed up of the game should have stopped with this set. I think this set is where we should have said, okay, this should be the pace of the game. Extra Dimensional Crisis added the Buzzwole deck, mainly just out of pocket and Tapu Koko to pair with Oricorio and all that. Also a good set. Oricorio was also a big changer from the previous one we just went over, which was Celestial Guardians. That was a needed card. I would say it's a good card to make you play around. God forbid we ever get a good Charizard, baby Charizard card. Yes, Oricorio is annoying. However, it slows down EXs. If we did not slow down EXs, we would still be in a place where Mewtwo is fucking insane. Okay? I could argue maybe you could make a Mewtwo deck still work nowadays. It's just low HP. That's all it is. The power creep kick Mewtwo out. But once again, Extra-Dimensional Crisis improved on Celestial Guardians meta from Triumphant Light. From Triumphant Light, improvement. Eevee Grove, another improvement. Was the Sylveon shit bullshit? Absolutely. But it was fun. We were all having fun. There were ways to still get around Solgaleo's Sylveon. You had Oricorio. There were other decks. People were trying out Dragonite. We don't have as consistent Dragonite as we have now, but it was still fun. Like, we had new cards. Eevee Grove was a win. I think Eevee Grove was a win. Umbreon EX should have 1 retreat cost. Just my opinion. Don't think that's a crazy opinion. It was still a win. It was still an improvement. Wisdom of Sea and Sky, we had art controversy. We're not going to go over that. All right? Which Umbreon was actually in this set, but, you know, whatever. This set was also pretty good. It started adding babies, which we needed. We needed babies. These babies were very important to basically everything. It brought Arceus back. We got fucking Lugia and Ho-Ho, even though they were terrible. They were terrible. They need each other to work, and they're terrible to use together. Still, even back then, I don't think they were that good. They were maybe an A tier deck at most. It was still an improvement and gave us cards that we needed, right? Like Silver came in, so Volley Rampardos was fucking dominating as well. Which it was, that's one of those decks. It could have been BS, but it was still fine. I'm gonna pause. Sorry about that. We're back. Now we're getting to Secluded Springs. Secluded Springs was a more controversial set, I would say, in the sense of we got babies, but we got these three fucks right here. Suicune, Entei, and Raikou. Now, I think what happened with these three cards, it set a precedent of the game needs to be faster and add consistency. Now, it might have been more about consistency, but it makes the game faster, all right? These cards, 100% just speed up the game. There's no denying it. It does make your deck more consistent, but it speeds up the game. All right, the whatever, the legendary fucking pulse, it speeds up the game. It just straight up does. And I personally think these cards are okay. They're fine. Yeah, they shook up the meta quite a bit, to the point where, things became a problem. Old things. Say, Greninja with Water Shuriken that can hit your bench. And then you have Cyrus. The fact that Suicune exists made the strategy with Greninja and Cyrus consistent. It already existed. It's just Suicune was the camel that broke the back and made that shit annoying. And personally, I think the crime here is that Entei and Raikou are bad. I'm just going to be straight up. Entei and Raikou are hot dick trash, especially Raikou. I think during this set, they were probably ultimately way worse than Suicune. Suicune is fucking god compared to Raikou and Entei. And Entei nowadays is better because we have a middle stage evolution Charmeleon that can get it up to those 120s way easier with the 4 energy. But I think even now, having to deal or invest 4 energy for 120 damage for the current sets, that's a lot of energy to invest. You want to invest that energy on something else. It's still ass. It's dog water. That Suicune can just do more than Raikou and Entei. Raikou specifically, I think was robbed. I think Raikou was absolutely robbed. It should have had 140 HP to start, and this Voltaic Bullet should have done more. It should have hit 2 targets, or it should have done 80 damage. Straight up. It just should have done 80 damage. There's no arguing it. They were done dirty. Completely. Entei, I think, is fine. Oh, apparently I don't have a regular Entei EX. Or at least the 2-star card. I think Entei was fine. But, just straight up, it was a Suicune. They were sucking off Suicune, man. They like Suicune. And I think the crime of Suicune was just they didn't think through the consequences of Greninja Suicune. I think Secluded Springs was the point of we have to speed the game up and make things consistent. And they didn't think it all the way through. I'm not going to go over the Deluxe pack. It's whatever. It added Professor Oak. That was a whole controversy thing. I think, personally, it was fine. It was just the amount of goddamn cards they put in there is extra. It should have just been an art set. They shouldn't have doubled up on foils. If they were going to do foils of every Pokemon, it should have just been foils and no normal cards whatsoever. Or just make it an art set. Like, straight up. If you're going to do foils, do like half the foils from all the previous sets. Don't do any regular cards and then just do arts. I do think, though, that Deluxe Pack EX started something that I would like to mention now. This set specifically started a trend where I noticed I got full art cards or 1-star cards more often. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I am someone that I do have an alt account. I do pull as an alt account, and I have extra full arts, you know, that I trade over to get set completion. Now, the problem is I have 9 Greninja and 9 Gardevoir on this account. Now, whenever Masquerada came out, I had a lot of those too. Which I think this has always been a problem, but it became more prominent in this set because we were pulling so many cards. I got full art cards out the wazoo. I think I can confidently say Greninja and Gardevoir specifically, I had 15 on this account. I traded these specific cards away. Cards that should have been valuable because they were part of this deluxe set have higher rates than the EXs. The only reason we didn't notice this before is because this set gave us EXs every time. And I'll tell you where we started to notice this is when we go to B series and we got Mega Rising. Mega Rising is when we started to realize EX pull rates are kind of shit. And the fact that I need an alt account when I'm paying the fucking premium over here, which we'll get to that in a minute, to get Megas to play ranked? How does that make any sense? It doesn't make sense. I should be getting more EXs than full art cards. That's kind of weird. Why is this the case? Why do I have so many full arts compared to EXs? I have 2 Mega Pinsir EX. Two Pinsir EX. Like, 2 Pinsir EX to play the game. Yet, I have 3 Growlithe. I have 5 Luxray. I have 4 Makuhita. I have 5 Archeops. And I think if I play even more devil's advocate with this, I have 3 Gyarados, sure, but I have 4 Blaziken. And you know the reason why I have 4 Blaziken? I have 4 Blaziken because I was trying to pull May after I struggled to get Blaziken and only got Blaziken at the very end of Mega Rising. I only got to play the Mega Blaziken deck at the very end of Mega Rising because I couldn't get a Blaziken. And I only had 1 Absol. Luckily, that's all I needed for the deck. So, I think it's a problem. And I think it's a big problem, too. Especially when I'm getting more full art cards than 3 diamond cards as well. There should be no universe where the playable cards are harder to pull than the full art cards. No universe. It shouldn't exist in a card game. It shouldn't exist in a physical card game. That is ridiculous. The whole point of a card game is to play the cards first. The card designs should be second. You shouldn't have card designs first, which we'll get to more of that because we've reused card art for some reason. That doesn't make sense, but we've done it anyway. So that's just where we're at. We're going to talk about Mega Gyarados for Mega Rising specifically because it adds a very controversial card where we just talk about speeding up the game. So, there's 2 actually. Jolteon EX I want to talk about. Jolteon EX is some ridiculous shit. It's an ability where you just have Greninja, but it's an EX out front and it's Suicune HP and Suicune energy cost. I think Jolteon EX is kind of not great now, because of the new cards that we've gotten, and Blaziken kind of outshines it. It just kills. But it's ridiculous. Electric Wall, ridiculous. Absolutely. For the time as well, I'll stand by it. It was stupid. It was dumb. It made playing the game not fun. And you know what? I think it's okay to have not fun cards in there that are good. But you can't do it all, you know? Now, I guess we're talking about 3 cards. We're going to talk about the 130 curse. We had Arceus, which was a stage, or a basic. It was a basic. This is a stage 1. Now, this is a mega. Of course, it's going to be stronger. It's 3 points if you kill it. Whatever. The problem with this is because that Arceus takes 3 energy, and this has, what, 50 more HP? And does 130 damage still with 2 psychic energy? it gets a little more problematic. And I think the main reasoning is I feel like Altaria got a little more support than Arceus. And I know that's crazy to say because you can say, oh, Arceus has Crobat and all of this. It doesn't matter. Because the fact is, Altaria has a bunch of tools from older sets and newer sets, including a new card that could pull Swablu out of your ass with a supporter. You could just call upon Altaria and Swablu way easier than you can Arceus, which you can only find it with a Pokeball or Communication or a May. Mega Altaria was set up to just overshadow Arceus and be a menace with 130 damage. And when you pair stuff with, again, Greninja, it becomes a problem. And I think where the problem started was the 130 curse, because we're back to this fucker. Which, the issue with this card is not the fact of... It's not the fact that it's the ability. I think this was a sign that the game was going to speed up to a point where older cards were being power crept. I think the problem with this card is the fact that it does 130 damage. This card should only do 100 damage. I know that's still a lot, but 130 is a threshold that we have seen is a problem. Arceus has it, and it was immediately a meta card. Altaria has it, and it is immediately broken. Fucking Suicune goes over 130 with Greninja. It does 140. You see the problem? Once we're getting over 130 damage on a card that is ridiculously busted for low energy cost or has a way to give itself energy on turn 3, you're causing problems. An absolute travesty problem, which is this bullshit. And I think that's just where it's at, is that we've made cards that are just not balanced. And it's fine to power creep, but if you power creep to a point where this is the main deck used other than Blaziken, and your Mega Blaziken can't knock out your Hydreigon because they decided to Lily on the same turn, what are you supposed to do? You take the 130 and then you have to deal with fucking Absol in the back killing you and taking your Lily supporter away to heal your Blaziken. Hydreigon is a problem. It was a problem when it's released. It's still a problem now. And it just didn't get better for the Mega sets. It didn't. Because we released Crimson Blaze, which kind of fixed our problem because we needed a one-shot Altaria. I don't remember. Was this was the set that added Charmeleon. So we got the big old buff that our buddy Entei needed. Yeah? The big old buff that our buddy Entei needed. We got this quick roll extract. We got some answers in this set. Some things kind of helped here, but nothing really stopped Hydreigon Absol. And the reasoning is we have Poison Barb, and people figured out if you attack with some of these cards, Hydreigon just kills because of poison damage. And we're back to the 130 curse. Nihilego makes it deal 20 damage. If Hydreigon only did 100 damage, you might have some things that are living on 10 HP now. And they can retreat and get rid of the poison. And then they'd have to be pulled back up with Cyrus or sniped with Greninja or something of those lines. That is the problem that we are dealing with. It's the 130 damage on some of these cards that don't need to be dealing 130 damage. Hell, even Xerneas deals 120 damage for 3 energy. It's an issue. Venusaur, specifically, was an issue during this set. Why? It does 120 damage and puts your opponents to sleep and poisons them. It's just an annoying card in general. It was good for a while, and then it stopped being good because, you need a whole middle evolution to, get it up to par. I argue you could probably memory light some crazy stuff with Venusaur. I would love to experiment with a deck where you have something out front to take on Hydreigon to stop it. The problem with Venusaur was straight up Hydreigon. You couldn't get it evolved enough and then even have Memory Light in the first place, because Hydreigon just kills your Ivysaur even with Heavy Helmet or Leaf Cape. You couldn't do anything. Then the only reason Hydreigon destroyed this card and Venusaur didn't dominate instead is the 130 damage thing. And this thing was dominating with 130 damage because the poison did 10 damage after the 120. And that's another reason why Venusaur was hard to deal with, because it was hitting the damage threshold for you to two-shot most things and Megas, and it puts up to sleep. It was so annoying, dude. It was so annoying. But Hydreigon fully just kicked Venusaur out of being meta completely by Fantastical Parade, and the set was only out for a month. And we got Gardevoir for Fantastical Parade. The problem with Gardevoir is it does 110 damage for 2 energy. So we can make Altaria to do 130 damage. We can make Gardevoir do 110 damage and attach 3 Psychic Energy, which you would think is good, but because of Hydreigon, Psychic types are extremely nerfed. Gardevoir is weak to Dark, which it should be weak to Steel, so Hydreigon's just railing Gardevoir in any Psychic decks that are weak to Dark. So Psychic is still being kicked out of the meta, so this Gardevoir card was immediately pushed out because of Hydreigon. The only other card that was contending is Kangaskhan, which I don't have that full art, but Kangaskhan was contending because of babies. And Greninja and Orgorio as well. So, which we go back to the Greninja problem, but I mean, I don't think Kangaskhan was a problem. I think Kangaskhan was a card that was trying to check things. And I think it did okay. The problem is the Hydreigon was still hitting the damage thresholds. And then we got another card, basic card, with 130 HP with something that stops status conditions to maybe, just maybe, stop Hydreigon and its Poison Barb. But it's 130 HP, so if you have your Ogerpon in the back, you get Sabrina'd, or it's just in the front, guess what kills it? Hydreigon. The only saving grace for Ogerpon is the fact that it gets Leaf Cape. Even then, you could run Guzma, but you know, we know those decks don't run Guzma. But it's again, we're back to the 130 curse. Nothing fixes Hydreigon. Nothing fixes the speed of the game, because Hydreigon speeds up the game and says, okay, by turn 3, you should have 3 energy. You should have 3 energy by turn 3. Instead of 2 energy by turn 3. It's now 3 energy by turn 3. We went from having 1 energy from turn 3 or 2 energy from turn 3 to 3 energy as soon as we get into the next year. They didn't give us answers to Secluded Springs. They just made Secluded Springs worse. They made it worse by speeding up the game more, trying to make it consistent, which decks have become more consistent because of things like Copycat instead of Iono. Things like Hiking Trail, which we will get to. But they still haven't done checks and balances to other decks that they did in the past. If you're not going to care about your player base and the meta that's going on, then it's hard to do anything within the meta. Now, granted, we're in a better place than we ever were because of Paldean Wanderers and Mega Shine. I think Paldean Wanderers was a good patch. Somewhat. I think, personally, Masquerada could have been better. I think the real problems of this set is Chen Pao, man. Chen Pao is something else, dude. It's a 130 damage again. The problem, which isn't Chen Pao itself, I think the problem is the fact that we added back Excalibur, and now the Suicune is even more powerful, because now you're saying I'm smacking for 180 or 120 damage turn 3, and I'm able to put an energy on my Chen Pao in the back and then next turn do 130. So you're telling me by turn 4, I'm doing 130 damage after I've already hit you, and not only on top of that, by turn 4, am I doing 130 damage? I'm doing 130 damage to something on your bench. That's a problem. We've taken Hydreigon and now put it sniping your bench every turn. Every turn, you generate 3 energy and snipe something on your bench. This is a ball that keeps rolling. You see the issue. If this ball keeps rolling, we'll have next set, and you'll need 4 energy by turn 3 to do anything. Which, surprise, surprise, if we go into next set, which is the current set we're on, Gengar got absolutely shafted and needs 4 energy to use his attack. Which, to be fair, it's very busted. But it's 4 dark energy. You know how hard it is to set up 4 dark energy? It's really hard. I saw a Swanna deck today with Gengar. By Lucky Cat. And it can work. But it's still 4 energy for 120 damage. It's not 130. It's not a breakpoint for 4 energy. I think a breakpoint for 4 energy on Gengar would have been great. But it's 120 instead. It's insulting. Because you're telling me that you gave all these Pokemon these great breakpoints. But Gengar gets a powerful effect. So he has 120. You need to make it make sense. You need to balance your game to have checks and balances so things are good and some things are bad. I think having coin flip cards is fine and it can be funny. But it's only funny if it's not fucking Lucky Ice Pop and it screws us over. Which brings us back to Fantastical Parade. I think, all in all, the real issue, other than accelerating the game to a point where it makes a lot of cards unplayable, is the coin flip meta. We should have never brought this back. Lucky Ice Pop should have never been an item added to the game. This should not exist because it is an unfair advantage, especially when you add it into a ranked game. Now, when it comes to Misty, sure. If you're running a Misty deck in this day and age, more than likely you're not running the generators for some reason and you're trying to pull some BS. If you get away with it, you get away with it. But if your opponent has hit you, there's nothing you can do but Lucky Ice Pop or a healing card. And you Lucky Ice Pop back to full health, your opponent has to hit you all the way again. What does that say about the game? How does that make me feel? Why is Lucky Ice Pop the answer to be an excuse for Hydreigon players, or any other player for that example or matter, to just say, fuck it, I'm gonna flip heads until I die, and it's just what it is. It's just kind of shitty high roll where it makes the game feel like it doesn't matter because any damage you put on the board is null and voided by a coin flip. Which I'd like to remind you. Would you like to remember which set people stopped playing the game, even collecting? It was this set that added Celebi because it was a coin flip meta. We improved from Mythical Island and then immediately doubled down and went back into a hellish zone where you refuse to add more features to the game, decide to put ranked 2 weeks out every week, and are no checks and balances to Hydreigon or anything to do about Lucky Ice Pop because you have too many answers to babies now, so Chingling is pointless to use. The meta would have to either drastically change, which it won't because it can't, because there's too many answers for babies now, which means Chingling has been pushed out of existence for Sleep Darkrai meta, which, don't get me started on Darkrai, with a previous Pokemon that makes Sleep absolutely busted, but every other status gets left in the dust, other than, I guess, maybe Paralysis, because Paralysis was always busted. But you also completely had Chingling pushed out when Lucky Ice Pop came out. Which, the one thing keeping Hydreigon at bay was Chingling. Chingling was keeping Hydreigon at bay. But when that got pushed out of the meta, we're back to square one. With a coin flip meta, and a meta where you have 3 energy on turn 3 to do 130 damage. And then full heal the Pokemon right after the next one comes in, dealing 80, 60, 100 damage, and then nothing matters because you're reset and you just do it again. The game isn't fun like this. No game is fun like this. I really want to go back to the days where we were playing Eevee Grove, Wisdom of Sky, and Extra-Dimensional Crisis, Celestial Guardians. I think these sets, maybe some Secluded Springs. We'll include Secluded Springs in there, just because even though Suicune was oppressive, we were hopeful for answers for the next set. It was fun. These were fun. Secluded Springs at first was fun. It got annoying after a while, but it was fun. We had fun with these. These sets have just been painful. There were 2-3 decks for Mega Rising. For Crimson Blaze, there were still 2-3 decks. For Fantastical Foray, there were still 2-3 decks. For Paldean Wonders, there were still 2 or 3 decks. For Mega Shine, we have 3 to 5, but 3 of them are S tier and use the same mons, and then the rest are all A. And those are like decks that can work, but if you have High Dragon with Lucky Ice Pop or use a different like Altaria type deck, it's just, what's the point? Altaria got set up turn 3 and is now doing, or turn 4 and is now doing 130 damage. And Altaria getting buffed again by using another baby with sleep meta as well. You have 2 different Altaria decks. You have Greninja Altaria, so you have 150 damage, so it's more annoying than Suicune because we had consistency, so we don't even need Suicune anymore for Greninja. And then you have Sleep, which you've already dealt a fuck ton of damage to the starting Mon, and you're cooked. And I think that's where Pokemon Champions come in, where it's... Pokemon Champions is a game with a familiar meta that's VGC. There's hope for singles, which people used to love. And it feels like you're more in control because we know the meta isn't as absolutely bogus and random, which is why people get so mad when Mega Evolution speeds don't matter and it's so freaking random whenever my Charizard, for some reason, Mega Evolves after the damn Frostlass, or vice versa, because I think Frostlass is faster than Charizard. And instead of Snow being up, the Sun's up, because the game decided that Charizard was gonna Mega Evolve last or first, or Snow's up because Charizard was gonna Mega Evolve first before Frostlass. We shouldn't have that problem. We shouldn't have the pocket problem in a game where things have always been controlled and strategized for VGC and singles. It shouldn't exist. We shouldn't have to worry about crazy randomness in a game that's already based on randomness. We want to be able to have fun with these games, not play RNG the video game. If we wanted to play RNG the video game, we would just all be playing gambling games. Straight up. If you could, at this point, start playing a gambling game and it would be the same thing as poker. It just would be. It's just where it's at. But I'm going to be making more videos on Champions. I haven't made videos in a while because I have personal life stuff going on. I have some stuff in the description to support me. I might need financial support soon. I'll probably put more stuff for financially supporting me on the channel soon somewhere, just because it's gotten to a point where I might be in a bad spot in life. And the reason why I'm in a bad spot in life is I'm just in between legal trouble and money trouble and the economy, and I don't have the motivation to make YouTube videos because I'm trying to work so much. I'm tired. But it's hard in the streets, man, and the things I enjoy aren't good because and it stresses me out more because they could be good. But I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. It's already too long, and it's like 40 minutes. I gotta condense this shit down somehow. But I think I made some good points. We're gonna edit this shit. I'll see you later.